Heyo, welcome to Benchwarmers, a WOSO podcast, episode 25. 25. We got 25 in the back, so simple as that. We have, I was going to put Yui Hasegawa over here, but I feel like Viv is more deserving of that spot this week.
She's the number 25. She is the perennial 25.
What, Black Stenius?
Yeah, she won the Champions League in 2025. She scored the winning goal.
What about when we win the league in 25-26? Does that count? No.
No, you'll need like.
But she was good in 25. She was very good in 25. I feel like she was the only player who didn't like fully drop off and die.
Did you see her at the start of the season? Did you see her at the start of the year?
I mean, she's fine. She's all right. But I agree. She is no Steen Stenius. But we will get into Stenius' favourite tournament, Hasegawa's favourite tournament as well, the 2026 FA Cup round, which had a few games of note, to be honest, a few belters, a few bit more boring affairs, and then some interesting ones that didn't really make the cut for us, but we'll get there eventually. But we will start with Chelsea and United. Second v fourth, but ultimately second by omission of you guys having a swamp as a ground, so it's not really like
Wasn't
our
ground.
Wasn't your ground. Sorry, I apologise, but
having a go at us already. We haven't even started. And we're having a go at us already.
I mean, you missed a different game as well. I don't know what happened there as well. So you're two games behind.
One way to the quadruple.
Do you want a plate? I forgot about that. But Chelsea versus United. Usually an interesting affair with according to many United fans, the team that has their number apparently. But the reality is that I don't think there was much of a chasm between the two teams, and it took a little bit of class and a little bit of skills from some unlikely outlets in Chelsea, whether it be super sub Sam or Berman, a 19-year-old that I've only basically given criticism up until this point. Not that she's like deserving of excessive criticism as a 19-year-old who is learning in a crop of players that are I believe are better than her, but she definitely showed her levels today, locking up Jeff's Park on that right side for most of the game. And that was kind of the disappointing part of United's performance, is that kind of everything tried to feed through her, and if it didn't feed through her, I didn't really see much else going either side, to be honest.
I guess this is the Jess Park effect. You see it with teams that are heavily reliant on very, very good midfielders and very, very good attackers. I think Arsenal had a little bit of that at the start of the season, overly relying on Mariona. But I think Jess Park has obviously proven this season that she's a phenomenal player. However, something that we have seen, and I think we've also seen from Manchester United, is that they have struggled against the top teams. And they've struggled in a way that not necessarily means that this is a season where they're only going to win against lower opposition teams and will get their way up the table that way, because obviously they've drawn twice and then actually won against Arsenal in the Cup. But it's about the pressure. It's about how are these players who are very comfortable within their system, it's a very solid and very recurring starting 11, how are they going to adapt when a team like Chelsea, who chopped and changed, have been chopping and changing, especially their formation and their style of play, how are they going to deal with that? And we saw this game, when push came to shove and when the pressure was high, they capitulated right at the end.
I think it's hard to see that corner set piece play where Girma ends up heading it in as anything other than just a fluff, like a brain fade, I guess, just taking your eyes off the ball against near perennial champions and perennial finalists in Chelsea in domestic football. But the reality is that I just felt they lack spark against top sides. They manage to get free-flowing attack against everyone else, and then when it comes to you, they shell in. And don't get me wrong, you shell in against them as well, so you kind of match their level. But when they played us, we fought their midfield, beat their midfield, and it was a midfielders battle, and I believe Aaron Cuthbert and Walsh had the better of that midfield three that we gave so much praise to last week, and that just shows the difference in level between a mid-table or lower table WSL side and a titan like Chelsea, especially in cup competitions. We can all talk about the incentivization of doing well in cup competitions being limited, but the reality is that silverware is silverware, and you take your opportunities no matter where. And I think Skinner would have definitely loved a cup double if they got through here. That being said, they didn't have Leah Schuler or Lizzie T in this game. I believe Schuler came on later on, but Lizzie T was on the bench after a knock, and they had Van Gaheim out there. So clearly their eyes and minds are set on the UWCL in ways that are definitely understood when they have to come up against Bayern Munich, a team that are in their own form, which we'll get to later on. But I don't think there was much to the goals other than the fact that Berman set up both goals, an unlikely aerial threat that I believe that Sonia will start using more. I think if they start crossing it into her, she's clearly got a good leap. Her actual header of the ball is very powerful, forcing parries from Tullis Joyce, and then her direction is fantastic to get the ball to Kerr in that chance, and that's what Sam Kerr does, and she does it for the Tillies, and she does it for Chelsea, is she makes little things like that look so easy when the reality is that shot could easily go wide, easily get blocked in traffic, and she got the ball in the net. And don't get me wrong, the United goal, the response was good enough. I don't think Chelsea... I don't think Lucy Bronze did too well in that play. I feel like that header... I don't know, you get told from really young to not head it back in towards the box. And then you had Nuskin and Berman who it bounced off, and that's not great from them. And I'm not criticising Lucy Bronze for winning a defensive header from a set piece. But ultimately, for these bigger sides, it's becoming this situation where chaos ball wins over. And if you put the ball in the air, everyone is just as good as each other when the ball's in the air. Ultimately, if you have players who can win the ball and feast on the ground, that's that reaction time, and that's what United can do. And I thought that they just hold out this game till penalties, treat you like you're the other side of London, and do an Arsenal for that last 90 minutes. But ultimately, Naomi Girma worth her weight in gold. The £1 million signing to get the winner. Very happy Chelsea team to get through that game. I think they have definitely deserve the win, but also like on their faces at the end of the match, they were celebrating like it was Barca. Like it was like that's the feeling that they've had after this blip in form, that they need to get back into it. And you know what? This is more understood than that Barcelona drawing game. Like this is much more understood in the sense of that your confidence is shaken. You have your leader and ultimately like captain of the midfield in Erin Cuthbert saying how this blip is affecting her, and for her to go out and have an amazing performance to dominate one of the four midfields in the league in a cup tie. I think this is a statement victory for Sonia.
I think that for Chelsea, I think players are coming into form. I think that it's taken a while, but I think that they're gelling more. I think particularly JRK, we've talked about it all season, has been phenomenal. I think even when Baltimore came on, I thought she was fantastic. I thought Guro was also very good, but you can't get past Sam Kerr. I mean, 9 goals now against Manchester United in 10 games. It used to be the Mary Earps curse, where she would just score against Mary Earps all the time, but it just goes to show that we may criticise Sam Kerr because we've seen the best of Sam Kerr, but she is a player for big moments, and I think this is what will probably be reflected in the Asia Cup super sub performances. And if this is what she is now, I don't think that's a bad legacy to lead. You've had a fantastic career. You're coming on now, and you're getting your team back into games and potentially getting your team wins. And I don't think that's a terrible thing. And I don't think Sam Kerr, if she was of sane mind, would think that there would be a 90-minute in her anytime soon.
We'll see it for the final. Even if she just plays the first hour, I'd be very, very happy with that. And then let Holly Mack clean up the game later on if that's the plan. But, I mean, I just think that this was a level of dominance that Chelsea have been aspiring to have in terms of, like, on the ball, having the shots, having good, clear-cut chances. I think United, I mean, they had 6 on target, 4 of which were from about 30 yards or more, and 3 of them were Jess Park just taking pot shots. Don't get me wrong, one of them was a fantastic strike. That one that hit the bar was just magnificent. But again, if you're relying on that, and you're relying on Simi Awujo to tap balls in when it's just not enough. And look, I don't think this is a blip in United's season at all. I still think this is a very respectable season for them. We'll see what happens against Bayern. I still think regardless of the Bayern game, I think if they win this Conti Subway, whatever they want to sponsor it, cup, and get a Champions League qualification slot, I'd say that's a success. I don't look at United as a ambitious project where third and a cup is failure. I think that's very, very good, but who knows what Chelsea and Arsenal are up to, and if they miss out on Champions League qualification and they get packed in by Bayern, we can start looking at the season a little bit differently and how they recuperate for next season. But we'll come to that when we get there, because for all we know, United are still in it to win it. But we move to another team who are in it to win it, in it to win the quadruple in your lot, Arsenal. Packing in Bristol 3-0. Hey, Leggy, did you have a great time watching this game?
I was so sad, Ben. I was so sad. Okay, I have no real takes about distribution rights in the UK. I don't live in the UK. I have absolutely no idea what's going on there when it comes to distributing and showing us FA Cup games, which is really surprising because the FA Cup, the magic of the cup, the esteemed trophy in English football. I don't think that there's a domestic trophy in the world that is as esteemed as the FA Cup. And you would hope for a bit of gender parity there. You'd hope that a round 16 game, any round 16 game, whether it be our game or whether it be a Brum game that happened earlier in the week, would be televised. And unfortunately, our game wasn't televised. So I waited a good, 3 to 4 days for highlights, and which got, I think, maybe a 4-minute package. But look, from the 4-minute package that I did get, I saw what I've been seeing for the last month or so: players in form, very, very good final third play, very good connection play. I think the standout players are the standout players, particularly Caden Ford, particularly Kim Little.
There we go. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for Kim Little to get her mention. Like, geez, whether it's a WSL game, UWCL game, FA Cup tie against a lesser side, like, she treats everything like it's a final. Like, she just kills you and kills everyone. And the players she's playing against are probably 15, 20 years younger than her, and she just doesn't care. She's just like, I'm going to run you ragged, and you can run faster than me for about 5-10 minutes, but in the 70th minute, when you're 2-0 down, I'm still going to be running the same speed. I am Y equals MX plus C, and my gradient is just the same the whole game, and I work at this intensity, and you stop me at the start, and you can't stop me later on. And she was just, I mean, it's scary because, like, you just keep having this conversation like, there will be a time where she doesn't exist, and Arsenal have a Kim Little shaped hole in their midfield, and then Leggy will be in perennial misery when they don't have anyone to fill that hole, because you actually can't fill this hole. You cannot replace her. But, like, for now and for the foreseeable future, there is no slowing this V8 engine down. And ultimately, like, why retire if you're at this level? Why retire if you're on the way to more silverware, more trophies? It's not like a farewell run. This is, I can keep going, and kick me out of the team if you've got better players, but try and find a better player than what you need.
I think the mystique and the mystery around Kim Little is still so grand, even outside of Arsenal. She's not a flashy player. She's not a player that is the first on the team sheet for your standard WSL women's football watcher. I think that people are now suddenly realizing her worth 15, 20 years after her, like, absolute
initial
breakout
worth.
season.
Initial worth was created, 100%.
And I think that she has shown that the WSL and the standard of the league has grown so much so that you can't have players like Ingle, who was playing for Bristol, still in the league. We talked ourselves about someone like Jordan Nobbs still remaining in the league.
Long conversation.
Yeah, we did. We had a long conversation about that. But she's just shown that, and she said it, I think, before, that she knows when she will retire, and she knows when her level has dropped. And I trust her, and I'm seeing it. That level has not dropped, and it hasn't dropped in the 20 years that I've seen her play.
No, I 100% agree, and I think I would like her last game to be in an Arsenal shirt. I'd like her last, like, obviously she might move back to Scotland and play. She might coach. Who really knows? But I mean, I could see her being an amazing coach. I don't think the qualities she has on the field are uncoachable. It's not like she's this absolute wizard and genius on the field, as you've said. And I mean, not to bring it back to something that really doesn't matter, but she is just like if you had like a base card that's like 85 out of 100 everything, like her, like she's a player that will get an icon card on FC and it'll just be 85 everything. Like she's just the most like nothing spectacular, but everything unreal. Everything like done to the nines. And I think that this game showed. I think 40's cutting inside, killing wingers, back to her best, which is perfect timing for someone like me. I've got no issue with it. Get chopped. Don't get chopped too hard. Don't get injured in the process. But I'm sure the third goal made you very, very happy. My lord.
The third goal was incredibly leggy coated.
Yeah, I was gonna say
the second goal was beautiful, absolutely beautiful play, fantastic play. But the third goal was Emily Fox, just 85% of it to a
Frida
cutback
Munham.
With Frida. It's just like
all that was missing was Stenius falling over, getting the tap in at the at the back post. That's what it should have been. That's the Stenius, the leggiest trinity. Like that would have been perfect. The only slight to an otherwise perfect cup tie for you is Liv Smith getting stretchered off. She's not going to the She Believes Cup, I believe.
I don't think so, but it's been very vague because I know that she went to hospital, then she was taken out of hospital and she was doing treatment at Arsenal, but I haven't necessarily.
She should come to City, do her treatment there, and then just come back. Like she'll be fine in 3 days. Like no one cares. But like she'll be fine for Arsenal. And you know what? Honestly, I think you'd rather her not play the She Believes Cup. She believes that she wants to win a quadruple. That's what it actually is. But that's the way to go. I think Arsenal fans are literally breathing a sigh of relief that she doesn't come up against like the US women's national team in Colombia and like Emily Fox 3-foots her. Like just takes 1, 2, and 3 kick to the face and game over. And America beats Canada because they've done it in the hockey twice, which is even more horrendous. Yeah. We will move swiftly on to our lot beating Sheffield, showing our depth and class with some solid defensive efforts too. Jeglerts, who is a stickler for his starting 11, made 8 changes to the 11. Well, I mean, it's technically 9 if you count the fact that AG was playing centre half today. That was pretty magic to see. But Uabi, Gracie Pryor, Iman Beney at right back, Fujino back in the mix, LBB, Clinton, Mary Fowler up front. None of the usual suspects of the WSL are in the mix. But this was, and also like just having Kiara Keating in goal. Ultimately, this is the game that shows that we have to try and handle ourselves without Yui and Yama. But we still used Mary and Fuji, which I think I kind of think, like, I understand it, but I also think it's a bit silly. I feel like that was a moment to be like, all right, let's take the Asia Cup players who, like, we need a refresher game to see how we're going to play without these 4 players, and we use them. And Fuji was arguably our best player on the ground, I think. Obviously, Hempo was probably player of the match with her 2 goals. I think Iman Beney was probably player of the match personally from the right back. Good to see her back in the mix. Good to see her in a different position, still doing what she was able to do at Young Boys, where she plays that aggressive right back role. It was very reminiscent, playing on the influences of the Esme Brutes, the aggressive fullback into the position, allowing Fuji to invert inside. She takes the width, and then those balls across the box to Hempo in the 7th and 11th minute. Both goals were basically identical. That trinity of Fuji, Beney, and Hempo was just fantastic. And then you had Fujino get herself on the score sheet for 3-0. That right-footed cross shot to the bottom left corner. I think if I were to describe you most of Fujino's goals, they kind of look like that right-footed cross shot. And I think we do underrate her clinical nature. I think she just is I think if Carolyn went down, it'd be horrendously bad. But also, no, we actually wouldn't, because Fujino's had an unbelievable year. I had Fujino shouts for team of the season before Carolyn came back, because her level is so good. She has I think she has 3 player of the matches. She's she just doesn't have a stinker. That's the thing. That's the big thing is that I've seen Carolyn ghost. I've seen Carolyn get locked up, whereas I've never seen Fujino absolutely gotten the better of. And I think that's the point that makes our depth on the wings so powerful. Then we had Sid come on. We had Bunny come on. Both of them didn't score. Both of them probably should have scored. I don't know if there was much else to that. Keating made a really good one-on-one save, because Kanak didn't really deal with this attack, or this one flurry of attacks from their left side, I believe, that was crossed across. I don't think Sheffield were terrible. I think they did have their moments, but when you're already 2-0 down in 3-0 down in 21 minutes, and we got 70% possession, there's not much you can do. And then Sergeant Coombsy getting her name on the score sheet, as she usually does when there are no stakes in the game. I love Laura Coombs. She always loves a goal when it doesn't really matter, and that's what I need from substitutes who can just come on. And I think she puts her name in the ring, her hat in the ring, for arguably one of our first players off the bench, in the sense of, obviously when Clinton probably is when our whole team is fit, but Coombsy can definitely finish off games and win matches on her own boot.
I disagree with a lot of people saying that they didn't want the Asia Cup players playing in the recent tie ahead of the Asia Cup, because I'm of the belief that players are a creature of habit. They are a creature of momentum theory, and they love, especially players like Fujino, Caitlin Ford, even Yui Hasegawa, that didn't play this game but has been on a great run of form for the last month and 2 months even. I don't think that resting players, sending them potentially 12, 13 hours across the world and having not played football and then throwing them in the deep end is not productive and not conducive to what I want to see, which is players fit and firing. I don't think, and I don't know what this kind of endemic or epidemic is about players getting rest, players getting more rest. I saw Leah Williamson saying that the players want to go on strike, and I'm obviously always going to be pro player, but I think instead of looking at how many games, it should really be looking at scheduling and looking how we can fit these games in, because there is a time and place where women's football, there were 12 games a season. You don't want that. In the men's game, it's completely obtuse. There is absolutely no reason why they have so many games. But I think the women's game have
there is a reason why there are so many games, and it's because of how much money they make. It's the excessive amounts of money they make. And I think Menso and WOSO are completely different, where Menso is an issue of they can yap all they want about less games until they say they can make less money.
Yeah.
I don't want any of them chatting about it. I don't want to hear Mbappe saying we need to play less games if he's willing to go less than his excessive £300,000 a week. He makes more than entire women's football clubs have. It doesn't come off in any way like he is deserving of less games, but he's also deserving of less money, just from what he does and what he represents. And it's not about his ability, it's about the endemic that is men's football having, and also just men's sport having excessive amounts of money, putting players under stress. In most sports, having too many games, because players are forced to play to the slaughter of what is entertainment. The women's game needs less games from not a semblance of economy, but from a sense of safety. Whereas I don't think I don't think if they played less games, I don't think it should change their salary. I don't think it should change how much they earn in that way, because ultimately their figure is not is not tallied in the same way per week. It's tallied off a salary. It is a given salary. It's not. Obviously it might be given per week. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm just saying that the numbers and like severity, the significance of it isn't as hampering for this. But I 100%. I understand your point about the Asian Cup. I'm just saying, if I'm Yeglerts and I wanted to have if I wanted to have a moment where I was like, let's pretend we're in the Asia Cup and we have none of these players, this was an opportunity to do it. I'm not saying it's the right opportunity, and ultimately our goals came from the fact that Beney and Fujino combined like they were at the start of the season, when I was saying Beney needs to start and Carolyn wasn't around and chilling in Brazil, and Caspi was doing really well, but also Caspi was able to play both sides and they were able to switch and chop and change, and they were playing so well together, Fujino and Beney, and ultimately they just showed that they can still do it. And I've heard a lot of people saying we don't give Sid enough minutes, and if we don't give Beney enough minutes, she'll ask for a loan deal. Beney knows her place in this team. She knows she's not the 12th player off the bench. She knows she will get the minutes, and that's the important part, right? And I think Beney just needs to work on her ability to play with Carolyn, and she will give Caspi a run for her money. And ultimately, if Caspi can play on the left side and AG moves back to the center, we have different chop and changing and rotating, and players get injured all the time. It's depth isn't dangerous for players to go out on loan. Players want to be a part of successful squads, and they know. And Sid, it's a bit different because she's a bit older, and I think she wants to play more. And knowing her position in the team, I think going from Bayern to here and being in the similar predicament is a bit sad. But Beney knows that her time will come. Her time will come, and if she wants to stay here, she is more than welcome.
I just don't really want Sydney Lohmann to become the German Hayley Raso, really. I don't want her to be jumping from club to club and not being able to get solid minutes despite her having a fantastic resume and having a fantastic player profile. I think she has not done herself any favors in terms of not actually being able to adapt her game. I think that a lot of what she's taken from Germany, she's just simply copied and pasted into the WSL, which is fine, but not at the level that City are playing at right now, and not at the level where City are scoring buckets and wanting to progress the ball so much so that at some stage, I think you would agree with me, they're bypassing midfield just to get the ball up to Bunny Shaw. And that just completely alienates and isolates Sydney Lohmann's game, because she's that ball playing midfielder.
Yeah, but also, how does it feel when we go out in January and we sign Sam Coffey? Like, this is the situation. We've decided that a player like Yui Hasegawa can be further forward in that Sid Lohmann role, and then Coffey can hold the web and hold the fort from the deeper positions, or they rotate between a double pivot, and that's what's so exciting about the new Yeglerts midfield, and I'm really excited to see it more. But it does, like, look, I feel bad, but I also don't. Like, this is football. Players get, like, if you aren't the answer, teams that have the money find the answer, right? And that's what happens. And ultimately, if Sid goes, I'll be very sad. But the reality is that Sid is in a position similar to Clinton, where Clinton is first off the bench. If Yui or Coffey goes down, Sid is the next one in line, or LBB, and they're fighting against each other. And LBB has shown a semblance of form and been in the team for a bit longer. So I think LBB sits there better.
LBB has so much more credibility than I think Grace Clinton has overtaking Sydney Lohmann's spot. I don't think I've seen it from Grace Clinton, and you may disagree. I know that she's kind of been moved around that midfield a bit deeper, a bit higher up, but I just don't think I've seen it. And I mean, you can never escape the fact that you were the ones that did the swap deal, and Manchester United got the better deal out of that. But
Jess would be in the exact same position.
Of course, but they're completely different players. Grace 100%. Clinton was a player that was touted to be the next great English midfielder to take over from the reins of someone like Georgia Stanway.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no way I'm seeing Grace.
But she's not that. She's not that, and I think that claim was wrong. And for United, it worked, and she played with the semblance. And Mark Skinner has the ability to create this semblance of confidence that I'm talking about. That Jess Park currently is the beneficiary of. But Grace Clinton is a 10. I'm not saying she's anything other than a 10. If someone wants to call her an 8, and you can say, "Oh, United, she was an 8." Great. She hasn't played as an 8 for us once. Show me a game where she played for us as an 8. Show me a game where she got more than 3 defensive contributions, because it isn't it. When she came on against Chelsea, she was an aggressive 10. That was probably the best performance I saw from her all year. Bear in mind, it was 4-1. She wanted to make the score even worse. But and we're playing a defeated Chelsea. But that's the attitude I expect when she comes on for a player like Viv Miedema. She's not coming on for Hasegawa. Yui is going off for LBB. Grace is going on for Miedema, and in my head, Sid would go on for Coffee. That's how I would see it. That's the first, second, and third position where there's the A tier and the B tier of that midfield. And when we have Champions League next year, we come up against Twente, I'd be very comfortable in the fact that Sid, LBB, and Mary, if she's in the 10, or Grace, if she's in the 10, and Mary up front, could do the job against Ajax. Personally, I think that second squad could do it, so we can focus on trying to, hopefully retain the league. But we'll get there when we get there, of course. But we will move to probably the best game of the FA Cup so far. This is a ridiculous fixture. Two teams that I actually think play relatively stinky ball, providing a non-stinky affair. And Michelle Kang live in the flesh, watching this game in a beautiful garment, but a beautiful defeat yet again. Every time she turns up to watch her third child play, her third child gets really, really nervous. And when I say really nervous, look, they were close. They were really, they probably deserved it, the amount of chances they had. But the reality is that if you bad goal striking, bad football striking is bad football. I don't care how good your chance creation is. If you can't score, you just won't win. And obviously, this game was so leggy coded that it had. If Tottenham were going to win this game and Leggy was going to be happy, the only way she'd be happy is if Sangare missed a penalty to win this game. But my lord, we can go through some of the goals. There's only one goal I really want to go through.
Everyone has to watch this goal.
Yeah,
I think it's
my lord, this is one from the La Masia favelas, baby. This is how many times have we seen Jana take this shot? I want to say 11, 12
I'm
times.
telling you, every week, watch London City around the 30th minute mark. She would have taken this.
Launches an absolute homing missile. It's usually low and hard and forces a parry, but then it skies it skies up and it just holds fire and everyone goes, oh, she's so techie, but it never goes in. But Jana actually, can I just say, wasn't great up until this goal. I'm gonna say the mistake she had for the Martin Ho, the first goal, I believe, what was it, the 7th minute, that was all on Jana. She just didn't track the runner, but way to make up for it with an absolute staunching outside of the boot swaz moment. I want to say 29, 30 yards, absolute rocket into the top right corner, and the celebration was very much warranted. Shout out to Nikita Paris trying to dive for everything. That was a hella dive for that penalty. That was either a penalty or Paris gets booked for simulation. I'm actually sick. I want to know the refs. I want to know the refs. What do you call it? Yeah, but it's not. No, but it's more than that. It's not even the Paris rule. It's like their I forgot what it is. Their code of ethics behind the simulation yellow. How bad does the simulation have to be?
I think it's how dramatic it has to be. How much are you pissing off the ref so much so that you're going to get simulation?
I feel like we don't get a lot of WOSO simulation yellows. Liv Smith's one like last week where she went full Tom Daly. That didn't get a yellow. That's the one where I'd be like, you know what? We'd be VARing that one.
I think simulation is in of itself a referee discretion. I don't think, to be completely honest, I don't think that simulation simulation should be booked. I actually think it's part of the art of football. Like I think
if
that
you dive and it's not, and if you dive and it's not a penalty, you can't just dive everywhere. You can't just dive for every moment. Like I know you're Italian and it's in your blood. Like I get it, but like you can't just dive for everything. We can't have players diving for everything.
I just think it's funny. Like you're watching a game of football, and next thing you know, they're like Emmy award-winning levels of drama. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I forgot. You want like WOSO to be. You want WOSO directed by David Lynch.
Yeah.
I do understand that, but back to this Lynchian of a game. But I mean, Corrales and DVD came on, probably Benchwarmers, which are going for Super Sub of the Week, both of them. And Maestra is a genius. I mean, Eder Maestra is the one. Would Jocelyn have made this substitution? I don't think so. No, they would have been starting.
I was just about to say Corrales would have been starting, and I think that this is more a Corrales goal. And obviously, I'm going to pay credit to the fact that this is DVD's first goal for London City. But I mean, you can't deny the run, the drive. I mean,
brilliant.
I think Corrales is one of the best underrated fullbacks in the WSL. Similar to Jana, I think that they are two very, very good players stuck in a very, very mediocre system that just doesn't allow them to shine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. And you know what? For all the crap I've given Van de Donk as well, that was a very well taken goal for someone who hadn't touched the ball till that point, really. And it's a great finish. They were ahead. And then, I mean, Taya Goldie, shout out to Taya Goldie. I don't know what the plan was. I don't know if she was trying to chest it down. I don't know where she was going with it. There are a few moments this week in WOSO where people are just handballing for no reason. And sometimes you can just be a marquee signing for LCL. You can be a marquee signing for Lyon. As long as you play for Kang and you're a marquee signing, the handballs are always in. And then, I believe, was it Beth? England took up for the penalty, absolutely slotted it, and then slotted her first penalty in the shootout as well. An amazing shootout. Shout out to both teams. Shout out to Lete for letting in basically all of them, but getting a touch on nearly every single penalty.
There was something in me that desperately wanted a Euro rerun. I know it did terrible PR for the game, but I really wanted some absolutely shoddy penalties.
You did not get many. Pattinson's penalty was amazing. But honestly, put her in the England squad just for the shootout. Honestly, that penalty was unbelievable. Freya Godfrey, Jana, Marcel. Basically, all of LCL's penalties were good except for Sangare, and not many of Tottenham's ones were fantastic. I know England's one was very good. Gopset's one was okay. Who was Olga Artanen's penalty wasn't bad as well. Shout out to Saki for the funniest celebration of a penalty I've ever seen. But
you know why? It's because, and this is going to sound terrible when I say it, it's because she's Japanese, but I'm saying that because Japan are not very good at penalties. Just watch. I mean,
Kogo's penalty was good as well, to be fair.
I thought so, but I was very surprised because
I thought she laughed. I thought she laughed because I thought she aimed for the bottom right and ended up going bottom left and posting in, and that's why she was just laughing the whole time, and then she pointed into that direction.
That is pure elation laugh. That is actually a very Lynchian laugh.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was guttural.
I mean, it was a droney night in Bromley Park, I will say, but it happened to fall to Sangare. Sangare's penalty low, but just off the ground, perfect keeper's bait, and Liza Kop gets her save. I mean, she also scored her penalty, by the way, so shout out to Kop. They are into the next round. Yeah, very, very solid game. They will end up coming up against Chelsea. So we'll get to that preview in a second. The Merseyside derby again. Liverpool versus Everton. A very impressive performance from none other than Kerry Holland. I feel like she just bossed this game. I feel like she was kind of O'Sullivan was getting the credits, Enderby was getting the credits, Martha Thomas has been getting my credits, but Kerry Holland in this game was thick, far and above the best player in this this event. I think that Liverpool were kind of just running all over Everton, putting them back. I feel like the Phelan ball, which had been working the last few weeks, I think the speed and the prestige of Gazball in some ways won over. I think they just have matured to Gaz's system in ways that I don't think were very describable before the turn of the year, but now just seem quite Newtonian. I think their patterns of play genuinely, like, if you showed anyone, like, you know, when you have your WSL purists who say that, wow, the third best team in the Liga F would struggle to make it out of the WSL. It's like, well, this is the argument for it when Liverpool play like this, and Everton actually put up a fight as well. I think Falk is probably the signing of January. I think it's kind of just, we're just all, Leggy called it, but we all called it. Like, how dumb does every transfer manager have to be to not pick this girl up when you had the chance? Like, I understand that not everyone needs a keeper. You needed a keeper. I don't know where that happened. And she was Swedish. It's not like we're too far in between. Like, come on, there was an opportunity there. But I don't know. I do feel for Everton, but also they have been on a quite impressive run of form, and it's a bit of a snapback to reality against a side that probably is deserving of a better year and will look at next year as an opportunity to break up further in the table.
I think outside of the Enderby situation, whatever happened to her, I don't actually know what happened, because you could see from various angles that she definitely hit her knee when she scored her goal. But I have absolutely no idea if it was a knock, whether it was like some sort of twist of a knee. Don't know what happened. All I know from the Liverpool comms, because that's the only way I'm going to watch Liverpool games if I have like a scouser telling me what's going on, is that it didn't look good. But then she came off on crutches later on in the game. But the best thing about that really was the fact that Beta Olsen was able to play a solid amount of minutes. And I mean, from the start of the season, I've been massive on Beta Olsen. I think she's a phenomenal striker. And she was the difference maker in this game. Not only did she score their second goal, but I think that she was the one who was getting that Liverpool goal threat up, so much so that any chance that Everton had to get it back into this game were kind of nullified by the fact that Liverpool were just eager to score more goals. They didn't. It ended 2-1. But I just have a lot of faith for them going forward, with the inclusion of Beta Olsen back from injury.
Yeah, like she was at the start of the season, to be honest. I think she doesn't take stupid shots. Her shot percentage rate, I believe, is arguably the best in the league in terms of converting her chances, despite not receiving many chances in the early parts of this year. And then you have a player like Kerry Holland who can set her up and set up Martha. And I believe Enderby's update was that it was just a minor knee injury. She has withdrawn from the...
It was incredibly overrated.
It looked bad. It looked bad. She came off not in particularly like happy face, or
I was like,
it's she. Liv Smith got stretched off, and I'm sure she's fine as well. Like it is kind of just normal. Yeah, it is. It is just kind of normal protocol that you do that for a big knee or a big you're going to take the precautions that it's needed. But they have both withdrawn. Enderby has withdrawn from the under-23 squad. So ultimately, I think Liverpool will be happy with that outcome as well. Is there a single team that actually wants their players to play international football? I don't think so. But we have some interesting quarterfinals. Obviously, Brighton beat West Ham, which leads to Arsenal. Arsenal playing Brighton, the perennial Arsenal A versus Arsenal C derby, which is fantastic. Obviously, Arsenal B being your bench. But yes, I believe Brighton will not really give you a game, and I think you're fine. We drew the mighty Birmingham City. I believe will be okay. Liverpool drew Charlton, which they will be over the moon with, and maybe Enderby will be back by the 5th of April, very likely to pack more goals into this tournament. And then the London derby, the battle at the Bridge. Well, it might be at the Bridge. I'm not too sure.
I don't know. It's Chelsea. They might play in like a backyard somewhere.
Yeah, they might play in Boreham Wood, the backyard of Boreham Wood. But Chelsea v Tottenham, hopefully Martin Ho can put up a bit more of a fight than they did earlier in the season and see that Chelsea are gettable. That being said, their form hike is back, and I think they will put pressure on that Tottenham midfield that deserve it. And if Tottenham get a win at Chelsea's home ground. That is incredibly admirable, which would make for, hopefully, if the WOSO gods align, right, and everything goes to plan.
Yeah.
Tottenham plays Arsenal in a North London derby FA Cup semi-final, and we play Liverpool in a Gazball derby, right? That's probably the right answer, and then we get City v Arsenal, and we do our first watch-along, surely, and kill each other.
There is something in me that wants to play Liverpool for two reasons. Obviously, I want Chloe Kelly to finally go up against Gaza. She hasn't done that yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Liverpool knocked us out last year in the Cup, and so I kind of want a bit of revenge. I know that knocking out of us in the Cup ultimately led to us winning the best Champions League ever. But the
best ever. Yeah, new is always better, guys. New is always better.
But I would like to play those teams. I'm not happy that we have Brighton, seeing as you guys have Brom, and so like that's not great.
It's an extra game. It's an extra 90 minutes compared to we can field that. I think we could field that same 11 in April that we just fielded for this game, and hopefully that will do the work with Hempo deserving of more minutes, deserving of more goals, and I think she wants to get her numbers back up to where she probably believes her numbers should be post-injury. But that is all we have for England, as we'll move to the Liga F. That's the first time we haven't vamosed to the Liga F. Yeah, sorry, I apologize. Yeah, Jesus, such a stickler, such a stickler for tradition over here. Oh my words! If we're going to talk about tradition, we'll go into Barcelona's weekly Well, it wasn't really a destruction this week. I think Granada weren't bad, to be honest. I mean, they didn't really offer much offensively, but the defensive hold was pretty astounding.
I think like 7 players in the back.
And that is what you do. That is what you do. And it doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter why, but ultimately it took a scramble and a Caro winning of a penalty and then taking of a penalty to break the deadlock in the 12th minute, and then another whip from Caroline Graham-Hansen, so a goal and an assist for Caro, so probably her best game in a while. Maybe I should have put her kid up there, but ultimately we had Aicha Kamara's first goal. I don't know if you saw the Barcelona backline for this game, but it was Carla Julia playing that Esme Brutes role. We had Marta Terrayon in centre half with Aicha Kamara and Ona Battier on the right. So, look, if that's not a second string back four, I don't know what is. But this was convincing, comfortable, clean sheet. I even forgot who was in goal, to be honest. Was it
it was Gemma Font.
Gemma Font, yeah, Gemma Font, who they have to play in goal now because Katakoi isn't around for a few weeks, I believe 2 months actually. But a 2-0 win for Barca. Is there much to say? I think Alexia had a few chances, Pio had a few chances, Salma definitely had her fair share of chances. I just don't think anything amalgamated into a 3-4-5-0 barrage that we normally see.
I was really fascinated by the squad build in this particular game because we've seen recently, I think, and we've said this before, about how Barcelona are diversifying and wanting to see what combinations to play in which games. And I think at this point, you can pretty much say that any Liga F game coming up is going to be a B team side going out for Barca. And so I think if this is a B team, I don't think there's a debate to say this is probably the best B team in the world. and that's just another accolade on top of the fact that they have the best A team in the world. And I think that probably the biggest competition to that would be Lyon. But the only thing I would say to that is Lyon's B team have players that are 25, 26 and 30. Barca's has a midfield of 2 19-year-olds and an 18-year-old. Like, this is incredible squad building from Barca, which we expect.
Yeah, and you had Leia Alexandri on the bench. You had Adriana Renera come in as a 20-year-old. They even, I mean, their backup goalie is Gemma Font's little sister. Like, honestly, how is this fair? How is this actually fair? But and then if we're talking about even more unfair, they've stolen arguably one of the up-and-coming Sevilla prospects in Torres. She will come into, I don't know if she's coming next year or she's she's already a Barcelona player. I don't know.
I think it's one of those like pre-sign deals that I despise.
Yeah, lovely. That's exactly what I want Barcelona to be doing, making you absolutely miserable. But I believe it is an important signing, to be honest. I think it's 300,000 euros. I believe it's one of the biggest like intra-club Liga F. For at least for that age, it's probably broken the record. But Julia Torres, I think, will be an interesting part of the Romeu rebuild, if that's even what it's going to be called, because I mean there is a lot of talk and chat about Muppy and her contract. There's a lot of chat about a lot of the Barcelona players who need to be recontracted, namely our recent chats about Caro and what her future holds, whether it's in a Barcelona top or her exploring more parts of Europe that she's pretty much dominated. So it's not like Caro can't do it anywhere else, and I would actually like to see her do it elsewhere, to be honest, because I think she did the best she can do for Barca. I don't think she's ever going to beat that 23-24 season, and she probably deserved the Ballon d'Or for that season, but ultimately, I mean, I don't know if that's a grit between her teeth to go elsewhere. I don't think there's a desire to leave the best team in the world. It's just about the financial situations that arise in Barcelona's women's game.
I think it's deeply fascinating, and I totally understand the Real Madrid Barca of it all, but it's really fascinating to see that top players at the big three clubs, you can probably now call it the big four clubs with Sociedad as well, not really rotating. You don't see it as much in the WSL. You obviously see it in other leagues as well. I mean, you obviously have the NWSL, they're the perennial swap and changes in terms of players, but I mean, you see someone like Redondo coming from Levante, going to Real Madrid. You're seeing it from the lower levels where they kind of pick the best players probably from fourth down, but you're not seeing a lot of movement like we used to. I remember there were days in pre-2020, Muppy used to play for Atletico Madrid and would come here. Jenny as well. Like
didn't Irina play for Atletico Madrid as well, or she played for PSG? And then, but who was it before? I believe she was in Spain. No, I think she was. I want to say Atletico Madrid. That would be a great shout from me. But yeah, she was at Bilbao, and she was at Sociedad as well. So like she has been around. I think it happens more than we realize. I just think you're 100% right in the senses that there's less financial implications of taking a player like, let's say you wanted to take a player like Julia Torres. 300,000 euros is a lot for a 17-year-old, but it's better than going for a player like, I don't know, like Maria Perez, that is probably unobtainable for a team like Barcelona. But then you also have players like Paula Fernandez for Sociedad who are having their best years. I think Paula Fernandez probably be in the team this season for the Liga F. But I don't know what the market value of taking a marquee player from a top four club in the Liga F would look like.
I think there's a bit of market, but I also just think it's respect. I think it's respect to the tradition, respect to the rivalry. It's something that we don't see in England, despite me desperately wanting it. It's just the fact that no Real Madrid player in their right mind would ever think about going to Barcelona. No Barcelona player would even think about going to Real Madrid, and vice versa, and similar with Real Madrid and Atletico. I don't think that those things exist in Spain, and there's a whole history of why that happens. But I just think in terms of respecting the tradition of derby and of that traditional nature of rivalry, I think that you kind of have to commend it, if anything.
I mean, you still have to be Basque to play for Bilbao, so yeah. I mean, shout out to all the Basquiats who made it to Barca. But ultimately, I mean, it's a respect league, but there's also a little bit of fight and fire when you have games like Real Madrid and Tenerife. Touted as a second v fourth matchup, this kind of shows the levels between third and fourth. I want to say second and fourth is a big one as well, and there is probably a gap between second and third, not really in points tally, but probably in quality of player, not really quality of manager. But this crime from Yerlian Moreno in the 7th minute, the red card in Tenerife, the like absolutely chopped up Caicedo's foot. Caicedo ends up coming off. I mean, shout out to Moreno. She is a very good player for Venezuela. She plays with my GOAT, Gabby Garcia, my old Liga F ago. But Caicedo comes off in the 12th minute, and we get Albert Redondo into the mix, which, I mean, did not stop them, did not slow them down. 22 shots, 6 on target, 7 big chances to 0. Quesada, I don't think there's much you can say to your defensive back four on Monday morning when you say, wow, well, we didn't really let in a shot. And it's because of players like Angadal and players like De Brits doing the absolute business from midfield to not even allow them to get through the middle. And even when they do get through the middle, you still have to meet home guard and Lacroix and Navarro at the peak of her powers yet again. I'm glad she's back in form, but De Brits had her mitts all over this game. Angadal's goal was well taken. Redondo's goal was also well taken. Caroline Weir on the bench. I assume that is a rest. I do think she has been a little bit out of form, but that being said, I think if they're like I keep saying, all these players have to be at top form to beat Barcelona in a cup, but also if they want to be second in the ladder, there is a semblance of Caroline Weir's form that needs to be there in the back end of this season, like there was at the back end of last season, to be able to beat Barcelona and hold on to second place over Atletico. But I think
Sociedad, not
Sociedad. No. Last year, I'm talking about. I said last year when they beat Atletico to second place, they had players like Caroline Weir stepping up at the end of the season. But this season, yes, if they want to hold their place over Sociedad, Caroline's got to get back into form. I believe Fella's doing the right things. I think Athenea has definitely
injured, isn't she, Fella?
Fella, yeah, she came off at halftime for Weir, and Weir had a very average half. I don't think it was incredibly special for her standards, but we had moments from Athenea. I feel like Athenea could have scored in this game, that tap in for that second strike, but I mean, Angadal got the rebound from the keeper from that De Brits long shot. I mean, she is just seriously, like, Sarah De Brits is just
this is the best. I said it last week, this is the best I've seen her in yonks.
Yeah, it's serious form, and I hope they can just hold this form and make the El Clasico interesting. I don't want them to win. I just want it to be an entertaining game. Like, this is about pulling back some respect. There's nothing to lose. They have to go out there and think there is nothing to lose. You are expected to lose, yeah, and not to pun away at the French clubs. But like, I want players like De Brits, players like Angadal, who've done it on the biggest of stages. It's the training ground. You're a training ground out there, and you're going to come up against the best, but you come up against the best in the Champions League anyway. You expect the best. So, I mean, it's exciting. I hope Redondo's also on form, because Redondo plays with all of the Barcelona players in that Spain camp. So it's not like she's coming up against anything new. She knows what she's coming up against. And if Caicedo can flick into gear, if Weir can bring her best form, there is no reason why they can't make it a game. Absolutely not. And that's why
I can give you one reason.
No. I know you can give me 11 reasons. You can give me the last 23 games against them. You can give me 23 reasons why this game won't be interesting. But there is no reason why they can't make it a dogfight. Make it chaotic. Actually put pressure on. We know Barcelona's weaknesses in terms of holding the ball in your own half and playing that ball over the top. Winning corners, trying to play for corner after corner after corner. Make the game a bit more chaotic. And I understand they will play with their control, but it doesn't mean that the games that they've beaten Barcelona in, that game that they beat them in, and the games where they've been close, I think it shows when they get a hold of the ball and they frustrate teams. And yes, a lot of luck has to happen. Like, Misa has to be on top form as well. It's not like she's going to not make 6, 7, 8 saves. It's just about how much scoreboard pressure can they put on early in terms of creating shots, creating chances, so you can collect the respect in the game. It's not about what's happened before. Let's take this 90 minutes as an individual event.
I think that, we look at the two teams vying for second place, which is Real Madrid and Sociedad. One of them has beaten Barcelona this season, and that's why I go back. Of course, the 11 players are a factor. I just go back to mentality. I don't think this Real Madrid team can even think about the prospect of getting a goal against Barcelona right now, let alone winning. Right now, I think that they're cruising on the fact that they're winning. They've won X amount of games in a row. They haven't lost a game since, December last year. This is an incredible run of form in the league. But Real Madrid is comfortable. And I think that right now, that's all they want. I don't think that they're ready to make that step. I think they know what's happened. They've been burnt before. And I think right now it's about settling in the fact that you're squad building. You're bringing in players. You're allowing players also to settle into this system next season, the season after. I know it's about deferring and every season, like, oh, maybe next season. But genuinely and truly, seeing the form that they're in now, like, if they can translate that next season 2 times better, because every team gets better the next season if they maintain the level,
hopefully.
Then I think that this season's not it, but I genuinely think next season they could probably offer a better prospect.
But their form is as good as it should be. They're 5 on the trot. They need to keep winning. They've got Sociedad not this Sunday, but their next game in the league is that Sociedad matchup, which if they win that, they should go into this. I mean, they've got 3 El Clasicos in a week, right? And if they win one, amazing. I'd say that's a pass. I'd say that's more than a pass. That's probably an A plus. That's an A plus. I'd say if they draw 1 or 2 of them, I think that's probably a pass. If they win the UCL the first leg, which I think that's probably the most likely of them to win. I think that first leg at the Di Stefano, I think they will struggle at the Nou Camp. That game is at the Nou Camp. That's the third.
Is that the first game that Barcelona women will play at the new Spotify camp now?
I believe so. I would love to be corrected on that. Hopefully someone can, but I don't believe they've played at the Camp Nou before, and I think this game will be the biggest one. That second leg of the Champions League where they go up against Barca. Hopefully, the dream is that Real Madrid give them a game at the Di Stefano so that there is jeopardy in the Camp Nou, right? That's the point, because you want the stadium. You want the stadium to erupt. You want Real Madrid fans showing up for this second leg. So if it's a 1-1, if you make it ugly, a nasty casada, and make it 1-1 or 2-1, even 2-1, a 2-1 loss, just score, and you put jeopardy on them, because then you can go in there and say, you know what, they've never played at this stadium before. Yes, they've got the stadium behind them, but they've never played here before. And imagine, let's say it was their first game. Let's say it is, and it definitely could be. Imagine you had that over them, that the first time they played at the stadium, you beat them. That would make up for nearly all the 22 games beforehand. I actually genuinely think it could, and in many ways, other than the fact that Barcelona could pack you in before that game, which is the hope that it doesn't happen, but. That's the dream for them in comparison to Sociedad, where the dream is for Real Madrid to die in a hole so that they can come second and Arturo Ruiz can get the biggest bonus of his life. You watch more of this game. I watch these lot every week. This is Arturo ball. Are you Arturo pilled yet?
I think I'm Arturo pilled. I think I am. I think that I realize that this is a generational season for Sociedad, something that I don't necessarily think will be replicated anytime soon, but will build a fantastic.
What do you mean? They'll be better next season.
Yeah, of course. But this builds a fantastic foundation for the fact that the Liga F is thriving. I think this just proves that the team that we think was supposed to be in that like first, second, third race battle is in 6th, and I'm talking about Atletico. But you have a team like Real Sociedad, like even Tenerife, challenging, and that to me is just a testament to how I think it's not a healthy league, but it is getting stronger.
100%. I think the goals were really well taken. It was a brace, I believe, from Pardo. The speed at which they attack is so good. That second goal is perfect football. The Cahinova playing it to Paula Fernandez over the top, and then that outside of the foot. Like, how many times you watch that ball and it's just absolutely dog muck and it never works. That little outside of the foot nip, and it's never hard enough, and it was just perfect. perfect to Pardo. Pardo rounds the keeper, scores the goal. She ended up with a brace. Shout out to Brown off the bench for Espanyol with that absolute rocket of a volley into the goal. But this is, I mean, look, Sociedad are 14 wins, 5 draws and 2 losses. This is a serious side that are 11 points ahead of the rest of the Liga F pack, which I believe is Tenerife in 4th because Atletico seem to not be able to win a game. That's the situation we've got ourselves in where teams like Sevilla see a team out of form like Atletico, and when they get a chance, they sniff blood. And teams that sniff blood are more audacious. They try more experimental things, and that's why goals like Andrea Alvarez's second goal go in, right? So people like we could easily say this game, oh well, it's a bit unlucky that they lost this game because I mean they were on top of them for a lot of it, and then there was just a fluky strike. No, teams go for that because they believe you're down on your luck, right? They know you're down on your luck, and they're going to be more ambitious, and they're going to try different things. And players like Andrea Alvarez, who haven't been in the starting 11 for a very, very long time for Sevilla with different myriad of reasons, ultimately packed in Atletico today, and that's what happens. And ultimately, I mean, Fiamma Benitez had chances. What that big chance at the start of the game? Who was that?
Jensen.
I think it was Jensen. My lord, I said that Jensen is the answer, but I said Jensen was the answer earlier in the year, and I'm not holding my heads up because I never said Jensen was a 9. I never said Jensen is the striker that's going to save Atletico Madrid. Jensen is a winger. And it shows when she goes for a one-on-one and it looks like that, right? they don't have an out-and-out striker. And Sarajevo is played that striker role, and now she's not in the 11 because she's just not that clinical. But if you have Luani, who's hot and cold and can flip the switch and be on or be off and checked out, you have a player like Jensen who can be on or off. You've got to have someone through the middle who you can trust to actually put the ball in the back of the net. It doesn't matter how many chances they get. If they're 1 in 2, then that's what it needs to be. And I know it's easy to say that and harder to actually buy that or crop that or nurture that. But the reality is that they aren't scoring enough goals for the amount of chances they had. I roasted Juventus for not scoring in their last 52 shots. I reckon your Atleti's rate of scoring for how many shots they take per game is probably the worst in Europe, I reckon.
I think that this game, I couldn't believe when I saw the stat sheet. I mean, 25 shots, 3 on target, to Sevilla's 9 shots, 7 on target. So not only did Sevilla have less shots, but they had less shots and yet still overperformed on the shots on target. It's incredible. And I have never really been an Atleti believer. I never really saw the idea of this Atleti team going for anything beyond a third.
Did you not in the first 4 or 5 weeks when we were watching them street ball and they had Lydia Rodriguez doing the business, Luani was on top of her game. I didn't think they would be anything in the Champions League. I didn't think they would be much in the league in the sense of they're battling for third, but this is like leaps and bounds behind third. This could be like a 5-year how do you incentivize the players that are there to stay? How do you incentivize other players who want to foster success to go there? I'm not talking about like they're going to be terrible for that long. I'm just saying their next year, the goal is top 3. The goal is top 3 for a team like Atleti. Yes, they'll have no Champions League. No, but the goal will be getting Champions League next year. The qualification, getting that top 3 if Barca hold the coefficient in the Liga F, right? But how do you incentivize a clawing back of all these players that have done it when other teams will look at a player like Luani and think, you know what? Her best is good enough. We'll put down the money for her. Or Fiamma Benitez having a generational season. Her best is good enough. We need a 10 or an 8, and we're going to put down the money for her. Like, how do you stop them from wanting? Like, if Paris FC make Champions League next year and they have money because they do have money, what would stop? What would? If you're Hector Herrera, how do you stop players from leaving?
So I said this last week in terms of I don't necessarily think that it's the players leaving. I think it's the fact that I don't think clubs want these players. These players do not play for the badge. They don't play for it. I've never seen a team capitulate so much, and you cannot tell me it's just because of internal things happening with the coach. There's really no difference outside of a slight formation change.
Yeah, I was going to say that the game plan, like between Herrera and Martin, like honestly, if I closed my eyes for that week and didn't know that sacking happened, I don't think the patterns of play would tell me, oh, is this a new coach? Is this a new thing? Nah, nothing's happened. I think they're just full body shock.
They did sign players during the January transfer window, but to me, I'm not seeing any incentive to play for Atletico Madrid right now. So the motivation has to be internal, and thus I don't think that these players will leave, let alone be given the opportunity to leave. But furthermore, I don't necessarily think that this Atletico Madrid team will suffer as much as you think, because I think that this will probably be the wake-up call that they've needed for a really long time. They've struggled to make Champions Leagues in the past, and when they have not done well. They've struggled to keep up with someone like Real Madrid despite having basically the exact same funds, even more investment, and probably more care, historical significance as well, that Atletico Madrid has. I don't believe in the hate watch. I think that every hate watch is actually filled with a lot of joy. So it's not a hate watch; it's actually a joyful watch.
I was gonna say, I don't think if I went in our WhatsApp chats and searched up the term hate watch, find and replace, I think you've said that word more than me.
I think it's a thing. I think it's a term, but I don't think that there's actual hate in watching. It's actually joy that you want the other team to win. And I think if you are watching a team coming up against Atletico Madrid right now, and I'm telling you, it's any team from the bottom of the league to like fifth, which they can't beat fifth, which was Sevilla. Like there is going to be a game there where you can actually genuinely go for the underdog, because Atletico Madrid can't do the fundamentals, and that's scoring goals.
I just don't think you just don't hate enough. That's the problem. I'm disappointed in Atleti. I hate the way they're playing. I said Hector Herrera. It's actually Jose. Sorry, I apologize. I think Hector Herrera is a Spanish midfielder. Is a Mexican midfielder in Menso. But shout out to Andrea Alvarez, by the way, because I feel like we're not giving her enough plaudits for getting a brace and a red card in the same game. Incredible. Shout out to get sent off later on for that stupid second yellow card. That was low-key embarrassing, but also kind of generational, and I kind of rate it getting an 8.0 out of 10 on FOTMob with a brace. That might be the lowest like brace result I've ever seen in my life. But shout out to the winger as well, Sevilla's winger, Fatoumata Kante. She was so good, and she had an assist for the Alvarez goal. Not the penalty, the strike. Obviously, I mean, better assist than the goal. But it's one of those things where you've got to do your job to facilitate for the striker. And I believe Andrea Alvarez could be a serious pickup if she keeps going the way she's going. She gets her minutes. Yeah, maybe Kang Pilled. I mean, if she wants to follow the Claudia Martinez route and get her minutes up and then just keep plowing in goals. She's 3 in 2 games of her last 2. Probably last week was a contender against Deportivo for a super sub of the week, but now she's starting, and I mean, I can spoil it now, but we'll get to there eventually. But that is all we have for the Liga F.